So a couple weeks ago, I got an email from this really nice kid who bought this gaming PC right here, and unfortunately, this is his first PC flip, and he got scammed. So I think it's best if I just start off by reading you the email he sent me. Good day, Mr. PC Rehab. By the way, my name is Ryan. You don't have to call me the PC Rehab. It doesn't hurt my feelings. You can call me whatever you want. You can call me Gingerbeard if you want to, but you know, just in case you were wondering, my name is Ryan. Regardless, let's get back to it. My dad and I have been watching your channel, and I really love the idea of starting to flip computers like you do so that I can earn some extra money. I can't get a real job yet as I am not the right age, so this would be something that I could do. I just bought my first PC to work on, and I'm pretty sure that I got scammed as I can't get it to turn on. Is it okay if I ask you some questions about it and maybe you can help me get it to work? I did not spend much on the computer, but I really don't have much money to start with, so I would really like to get this one to work. Thank you so much. I know you are busy, so if you can't help, I understand. Now, I did spend about a week emailing back and forth with this young man, trying to figure out what the problem was with that system, and we always ended up at the exact same result. The computer would turn on, but we would not get an image from the system. Now, as somebody who is just starting out flipping PCs, you don't really have access to a ton of extra hardware so that you can really pinpoint what the problem is inside of your computer, but I do. Now, he suggested that he and his father would meet me halfway from Orlando. Since I'm near Daytona, it's about a 45-minute drive. They would meet me halfway and they would give me the system so that I could flip the PC for them. And then their idea was that we would split the profits. Now, you guys know me well enough to know that I'm not gonna take any profits from a young man who just got scammed out of his first PC flip. So what we are gonna do is we will flip that system. We will make that thing look so darn good. And then the only thing I want back from it is just the price of the parts that I used to flip the system. Now, I did want to apologize really fast. A lot of the video clips that I am going to show throughout this video, they're not the highest quality, and that's because this is actually the second time that I have recorded this video. The first time I recorded it, I took some pretty not so great advice when it comes to different settings to try on my computer, and I recorded the entire build of this computer with quality that I don't think is all that great. So I decided to reshoot it, and that's why we're doing more of a narrated build than just a time-lapse build like we usually do. Now, the computer that our young man did purchase was a 30L Omen pre-built, and it does have a 2700X CPU inside of the socket. It has 32 gigs of DDR4 RAM. It has a 250 gig NVMe, a 1 terabyte regular 3.5-inch hard drive, and it has a R9 270X GPU. Now, that seemed weird to me because I was pretty sure that all HP Omen systems have proprietary NVIDIA cards, like 3060 NVIDIA single fan GPUs, GPUs that are like this big. And instead of that, we got this card right here, which is a Sapphire AMD card, and it's not even a very good card these days. So I think that whoever did sell it to him took out whatever card was in there and replaced it with this, you know, not so great card inside of the not so working system. But we also do get a 500 watt power supply, and that's about it, and it doesn't work. Now, once I got the system, I did the basic troubleshooting that you should always do when there is an issue with your computer. I took both RAM sticks out and I tested each stick of RAM in both of the slots, and still no post. I took the power supply out and I tested the entire system with a brand new power supply, and still nothing. I reseated the CPU inside of the socket, and still no post. I tried a different graphics card that I knew worked inside of the system. Still nothing. Nothing was getting this system to work. The other thing that I tried was I removed the SSD and put in a new SSD to see if maybe there was something wrong with the storage drive, and still not getting any image. So what you gotta do at that point is you gotta take the entire system apart. So I took the entire computer apart and I tested the system outside of the case because maybe there was a short somewhere, or maybe a cable was causing the board to not, produce an image. So after removing everything and testing that entire system outside of the case, we still did not get any image. At this point, I was pretty sure that it was the motherboard that was causing all of the issues, because the only two things that I had not swapped out was I didn't replace the motherboard or the CPU. And out of those two things, the chances of your motherboard going bad are much higher than your CPU. So luckily, I did have a Gigabyte AORUS B350 board sitting in my closet. I never got around to using it, so I pulled that out and plugged everything into that board, fired it up, and wouldn't you know it, we got an image. And let me tell you, I was very excited. This clip right here will confirm that. Yes! So we've got the system working, and now it is time to make this thing look like a gaming PC and perform a little bit better. So for starters, there is absolutely no way on God's green earth that I am going to put all of that hardware back inside of that Omen case. It's just not gonna happen. I dislike 99% of all pre-built cases. I think they always lack airflow and they just don't have a nice look. But luckily, I have a deal right now with Darkflash. They sent me a case to build in a future video, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that video, because it's gonna be really good. But they sent me an extra case, and they literally said in the email, you can build in this if you want to, but you don't have to. Now, I think that's a win, because that's going to add so much profit to this system. And it is the X70M case by Darkflash. I'll put a link to it in the description down below so you guys can check it out yourself. But I think that overall, it's gonna give us a much better look for the system. Now, the next issue that we had to tackle was the CPU cooler, because the CPU cooler that was on the Omen motherboard was a Omen CPU cooler, and the mounting on them is really strange. It actually looks more like an Intel mount than it does an AMD mount, and that cooler will definitely not fit our brand new motherboard, so we needed to make a change. But regardless, there was no way that I was gonna use that CPU cooler, that stock cooler. Have you guys known me at all? There's no way I would have used that regardless. So I did go ahead and I picked up a humongous Thermalright CPU cooler that is white, and it is gorgeous, and it's definitely going to fit the build. Now, the reason I got the huge one is because the RAM that we're going to be using inside of our white PC build is black, and I wanted a cooler that would be large enough to cover the majority of the RAM so that it doesn't look out of place. Now, some of you guys might be upset at this decision, but I did decide to keep the 250 gig NVMe and the 1 terabyte 3.5 inch spinning drive that were inside of the original system. I could have upped the NVMe storage to a 1 terabyte and gotten rid of the 3.5, but I'm trying to keep costs down for me as low as possible so that we can maximize profits for the young gentleman who owns this system. And now is when I ran into the next issue with this computer. The power supply that came with the 30L Omen system, that does not have an 8-pin CPU power header. It only has a 4-pin, which is what the Omen board needs. So I needed to replace the power supply. Luckily, I do a lot of local deals buying lots of parts, and I did receive an Apevia 600 watt power supply for free. Someone just gave them to me. You'd be surprised at how often that happens when you're buying used parts. People just give you extra stuff because they don't think they're gonna be able to sell it. So I have this extra power supply sitting around and I don't need it, so we switched the power supply to a 600 watt power supply, which is way better because it's 600 watts and it's new. Now, the next thing that needed to change is this graphics card right here. Now, an R9 270X, it's a 4 gig card. You'll probably play a lot of games on this card, but it is not strong enough for a 2700X CPU, so we needed to make a change. Now, if you remember last week's video, if you haven't watched last week's video, you definitely need to. It is the toughest, literally the toughest gaming PC flip that I have ever done. Now, I did take a 2060 graphics card out of that original system and I've had it sitting around. Now, I made $200 of profit off of last week's system, so that card was just extra profit anyways. It's just been sitting around and I didn't know what I was gonna do with it, and I think it would be great inside this build. Now, a 2060 is definitely still on the lower end of what is possible for a 2700X CPU, but a 2060 is definitely going to provide much better gameplay than this card right here, and hey, it's free for me. And the last thing was to throw in some white cable extensions because, hey, it just makes the build look better. Plus, it's a white system. White system, white cables, hey, it looks nice. And with all of our upgrades, this right here is what we get. We get a much better looking system. Who would buy an Omen over this? Now, as far as the total cost of what it took to build this system, that's actually really hard to get an accurate number because most of the stuff that I put in here is stuff that I've just had sitting around for a little while, things that I've taken out of previous builds or been given for free or acquired like an extremely long time ago. Like I think I paid like 40 bucks for that board. So the only things new that are inside of here are the CPU cooler, the fans, and the cable extensions. And the CPU, fans, and cable extensions only cost me $119. So it was extremely inexpensive. And by the way, if I haven't expressed it enough yet, Thermalright is like my favorite company when it comes to flipping computers because their stuff is such high quality, it looks fantastic, and it's super affordable. Please check out the links to those in the description down below because you need to take a look at them if you have not already. So, and the card came out of a system that I already made like a good amount of profit on. I don't really need to make more profit on the card. So I think what I'm gonna do is tell him that $200 is the cost of the parts that I used and he can keep all the rest of the profit. Now we can talk about how beautiful this system is all day and you guys haven't even seen it turned on yet, but what is really gonna matter the most is how well this system is performing. Because we are gonna be giving this computer back to our young friend and it is the first computer that he is gonna be selling on his Facebook Marketplace profile. And we wanna give him the best opportunity to get a 5-star rating to help boost the credibility of his page. And I'm gonna tell you right now, this system is performing very, very well. So in Modern Warfare 2, in an Ultra preset, this system was able to push out a very nice 61 FPS average. The gameplay in God of War with a high preset was actually really impressive on this system, getting us a 73 FPS average. In Horizon Zero Dawn, also at a high preset, this thing was kicking out an average of 61 FPS, just like in Modern Warfare 2. And to close out our testing, I jumped into Gotham Knights at a high preset, and we were getting a very beautiful 77 FPS average. Now, obviously the 2060 graphics card in here is definitely limiting the performance of the system by a little bit. If you go back and you look at the gameplay, you will notice that the GPU is pretty much at a 100% usage the entire time. Now, if I had it my way, I'd have put a 3060 in here or a 3070 even to pair better with the 3700X CPU, but I didn't have a 3060, 3070 sitting in my closet, but I did have a 2060 sitting in my closet, and I will tell you right now, the gameplay is gonna be better from this 2060 than it is going to be from that R9 270X graphics card that was in our system to begin with. Now, since this is not my computer and I don't need to, create a listing and create a listing price, I haven't been thinking about any of that. But the person who does own this system, he watches the channel. So what I want is, I want you guys to spout off in the comment section below what you think he should list this PC for, because he will read the comments and maybe you guys could help him out. It's his journey. He's just starting out. He gets to make the listing. He gets to come up with what he wants to try and sell this computer for, because that's all part of learning how to do this. Now, in just a second, I'm gonna hit you guys with a beautiful montage of action clips so you can see just how wonderful this system turned out. But before I do that, I did wanna say, if you are somebody who is getting into the PC flipping game or needs guidance about PCs, please go ahead and join the PC Rehab Discord server. I'm gonna put a link in the description down below. We love new members and we love helping out with anything that has to do with computers. And I did want to say thank you to all my channel members. You guys mean the world to me. And for everyone else, I hope that no matter where you are in the world, you are having the most fantastic day. And I'm going to see you right here for the next episode. Now roll the clips.